Welcome back to Horns Eye Studios for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. That means each one of these videos is less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So no time to waste. Let's get down to business. Don't forget, though, to like this video, drop a comment below so this video gets out there to more people. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider doing that. It helps the channel grow, and I do appreciate that very much. It's important to remember with all my videos, these are for informational purposes only. These are my opinions and speculation. I'm not an expert. I'm just using good common sense to help analyze this case. I'm not saying anybody's guilty of anything, and everything is, of course, alleged. Now, for this episode, I'd like to talk about something that's been on my mind for a while in the Idaho 4 case. I've kind of touched on this in some other videos, but most of us have had major issues with Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funke, the two roommates who were not attacked that morning. I've done multiple videos about my speculation revolving around their possible involvement in what happened. I'm not going to get into all of that in this video, but in a nutshell, I feel they were somehow complacent in what happened. I'm not ruling out that they did more than that, because in this case, nothing would surprise me. But when it comes to Bethany Funke, I speculate that her alleged involvement in these crimes started as a person to keep tabs on Xana and Ethan at the Sigma Chi party that night before. Once they left and arrived home, then I believe she left the area for a while. Now, I don't think she came home to King Road until the next morning at some point. Then her story to law enforcement was that she just slept through the whole thing. I'm just not buying it. That house was built very flimsy. I used to be a building inspector. I watched that demolition on video. That house was built flimsy, and that drywall wouldn't have provided a whole lot of sound deadening. Very little insulation in the walls, if any. So sound would have traveled through that house like a speaker. So there's no way she could have slept through something like that. So if I'm speculating Bethany's role here, then where did she go after Xana and Ethan left the party? Well, I mean, she could have been anywhere, obviously, but for all I know, she was at the King Road house and fell asleep drunk or whatever else she might have been on and passed out. I mean, I guess that's possible, but I don't know. I just don't think it seems right to me, but it's possible. It's the fact that she has exculpatory evidence that bothers me. This was noted by the private investigator, Richard Batanti, who met with Bethany and wrote up a report. What does she know that would benefit Bryan Kohberger? Why did Bryan ask his attorney if she could arrange for him to speak to Bethany? I find that extremely odd with what little we know about these details. Does that mean that they knew each other? Or did Bryan want to ask her, what she knew about the case? I mean, all we could do is bat around ideas and speculate here, but it is very curious. Someone in the comment section yesterday said something about Bethany was out there stargazing in the same park as Bryan did that night. They said that this may be the exculpatory evidence Bethany had, placing Bryan many miles from Moscow. I find it interesting, but I'm really not sure if that's true or not. I mean, it would be mind-blowing if it was. And I have had other commenters from that area say that that park is a very popular place with people that like to stargaze and take pictures. So take that for what it's worth. I've seen some people speculate that maybe she was dating Bryan. I'm not sure about that. He was 28 at the time. And at her age, that's a pretty big age difference. So, I don't think so, personally. But I guess anything's possible. I mean, now if you notice when Ann Taylor said Bryan had no connection with the victims, she didn't say that, all the roommates, just the victims. So it is certainly entirely possible that Bethany and Bryan could have known each other. And maybe, they like to get high and go watch the stars together. Who knows, right? What else could Bethany know that would be exculpatory? Did she learn something at the Sigma Chi party that would reveal others were responsible for this and Bryan had nothing to do with it? Or was she really awake and heard what was going on and recognized them by voice? I don't see how that would rule Bryan out, but that's just an idea. Maybe she overheard people talking about them framing Bryan for this. Who knows? It's got to be something significant, though. Now, we've heard rumors about her seeing a naked man that morning. Where did she see him? Does that rule Bryan Kohberger out of this? It just doesn't make any sense. So I am leaning toward the possibility that she may have been with him that night if this exculpatory evidence is true. I've heard that the park was frequented by people that like to go out there. So who knows? I mean, maybe, they were out there that night. Maybe she just saw him there, or maybe they were there as a couple. Who knows? Now, it was interesting that Ann Taylor made it a point in this court document that was just filed about the updated alibi that she pointed out that the prosecution needs to get her the discovery, or the expert that they've hired, Cy Ray, was going to report on some potential exculpatory evidence that may have been suppressed, lost, or destroyed. Now that's interesting. What in the heck could that be? So, I mean, how wild would it be for some of the things that we've all talked about, and people have called us kooky for these beliefs that people are in on it and all this? What if these various players we've talked about were getting perp walked to the Latah County Jail? That would just be nuts. What if the police department is proven to have been involved in this? That would be crazy. I doubt that'll all happen. I'm just saying, some of us have been labeled as kind of nutty about this, so it would be nice for some validation here. Now, speaking about the Moscow PD and their questionable actions here, if you haven't already watched it, check out the new True Crime Deep Cuts episode I just put out on the Idaho 4 and the questions about law enforcement processing the crime scene. Did they screw it up? What about that shaky DNA evidence? I interviewed a former Australian federal police officer as part of the episode, and he's got 15 years of experience processing scenes as an investigator, and he's got a lot of knowledge about DNA. Very fascinating stuff. I think you guys will like it, and I'll link to that in the episode description. Also, don't miss my live today on this channel. That's today, Sunday, April 21st. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., that's Central Time. I'll be live with Blogger Girl, and we'll be talking all Idaho 4, answering your questions. Definitely hope you guys can make it. We'll be talking about the new alibi stuff from Bryan Kohberger and all this. So let me know down below what you guys think. Comment your thoughts. Always love to hear from you. And I want to say thank you to the Horntie Club. You guys are awesome. I sure appreciate your support very much. And to all of you that watch these videos, you guys are all amazing. I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder.